Rondinone. I'm a Swiss artist. I moved to New York 1997, and I have a second home and a studio in Matitock. I mean, coming out here 7 years ago, I was like everyone. You just explore the spaces or the surrounding, and I got a house with a small studio that had farm tools in it. And it turned out they were all handmade. And just by experimenting, I would spray them with a gold spray, and it felt as if this handmade tool, rusty tool, became a jewel. So I was just fascinated by these handmade tools, first, and secondly, that by putting gold leaves on such a handmade, prestigious thing, it would elevate the tool into a desirable object. So I would like to point to one object that started it all. It's a shovel. It's a shovel that you would use for grain, and it's made out of wood, and it's hand carved. And I found this in a garage sale, and I was fascinated that someone would go through the difficulty to carve not a work of art, but something that he could use. This was the trigger moment 3 years ago when I said all those tools that were somehow abandoned, or many of them were abandoned, should have a second life because of the love they got by someone who took his time to make something beautiful to be used. So, and here he gets a second life. So, coming here to Long Island, see that history of hard labor made me think about my parents, who are still alive. They immigrated, like many Italians before them, to Switzerland, and I never really reflected, or there was never a work that was reflecting of their past and their ancestor past. That's why I call it in plural, because there is a lineage of labor workers, and there is a connection to all of them. And this should pay homage, this work should pay homage to it. I mean, the quest was to choose an artist. And the Parrish has a fantastic webpage, and I could go through, and there were many works that attracted my attention. And then I felt to Alan Shield's work, who was very much a part of Long Island and very much a part of the hard-working Long Island. He was a ferryman. He grew up also on a farm, and his father died young, so he was grown up with two sisters and his mother, and that's where he saw how to sew. And he would also work. He came out, I believe, in '82 and started working as a ferryman. And on the side, he had also his studio. He never stopped working. And by chance, I mean, those are situations that are not planned. I didn't know that the parish was built on a farmland, for example. But those are the lucky coincidences that just adds to the story. I knew what I wanted to achieve with my work. There are 26 panels, and they are organized as a grid. It's not a fixed grid, it can change depending on the spaces. The 26 panel refer to the title that it has. It's called The Alphabet of My Mothers and Fathers. So I reduced those panels to 26, like the alphabet. Each panel is dedicated to one letter. And to see an Alan Shields work with the idea of the grid and the transparency was quite stunning. And of course, there is some duality. As much as there is similarity with the grip, but there is a duality between a soft work and a hard work, a colorful work versus a monochrome work, and this can go on. But both deals also with handcraft. So I chose my tools. They are specifically, they are all from turn of the century. They were handmade, and that was the criterion to choose the tools. And Alan Schill did something unusual as a painter, that he would saw the painting. So the sewing machine became his tool, which is quite stunning what he could achieve with that. The surprise is because the work floats, Alan, and all of a sudden I saw those tools floating, which was something that I never had imagined before. Because they are all heavy tools, but together they animate a certain lightness, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, the surprising part is that Alan Schill's work makes it possible through his transparency to see all of my work. So it doesn't block anything, it just integrates it and makes it a perfect fit. So I was very pleased about this. I mean, my work feeds on opposites. I follow my work and the work gives me a direction. Here, the alphabet has its base really in the handmade tool. So so there is almost a grain against nature because it's working with nature. They work with the earth. So I see that connection. It's still working with the land, something that you can touch, but it is a tool to manipulate the natural material of earth. And of course, words itself can bridge many meanings. But in the end, I would like that the person comes in and just feels attracted and seduced. And over time sees the little details of how certain tools were made, that each one had the attention of one person to make it this way. So it was important that the work relates. I'm very practical in that sense. So the surrounding influences the outcome of a work. So goes also with those farm tools. And of course, there is many connection to my work per se. There is a kind of a nostalgia going through the work, a nostalgia that elevates emotions per se. And this was dear to me because it relates to my parents. So it's a work about love and about recognition and what they made possible. So in that sense, it's I would say it's a labor of love. I would bring in archetypes, so I work with symbols, which are related through universal, without including language. So they have an immediate reaction because people see and can recognize what they are looking at. So I work with archetypes like the sun, the tree. They are mostly coming from nature, or in this case, it's really the labor of work. So it's the tool that becomes an archetype, something handmade, something that you can hold in your hand, something that relates like a lineage of people who worked with their hands, as I do.